10 years ago, on the night of October 31st, a small Midwestern town fell victim to an escaped killer. Under the cover of darkness, he carried out the most horrifying mass murder on record. 16 people in cold blood. Ever since that night, no one has forgotten his name. And Halloween has never been the same. Now, Michael Myers has come home. He has returned for one more night of unholy terror.
Michael! Somebody help me! He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way.
Oh, God!
Who's gonna be next?
Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers.
Maybe nobody knows how to stop him.
Guys, remember that time when there was a serial killer running around the studio lot that we had to track him down and get rid of him? Little did we know it was David the whole time, but
on the studio lot.
on the
studio lot, wearing his
happens.
mask and his
I was killing
kitchen
interns and
once a year.
scary shit, man.
It's a ritual, I guess.
Yeah.
And you didn't know it was me for so long. It was like that movie Scream. I was around you the whole time.
And really,
Yep.
every year when the mystery gets solved and the mask is taken off and it's David, we all have a hearty laugh about it.
Yeah. And he's like, I could have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you kids.
We let bygones be bygones and we move on.
Yeah.
Move on to Thanksgiving.
Oh, and
But
we feast.
now that that's happened, there's only one series we could be talking about as we, just go right through the month of Shocktober here at ReconCinemation. We're going to be talking about Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers.
Woo.
Welcome back to another episode of ReconCinemation. I'm John Diner.
I'm David Munchak.
And I'm Brent Hutchins.
And this is the podcast that takes a look back at some of your favorite films from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And welcome to the epic conclusion of Shocktober. We've had a fantastic month here at the studio.
It's been a good one. We've covered a lot of good flicks.
Oh
yeah, we started early with The Fog, right? Just a little bit before October, and then we sidetracked with to James Bond world with Goldfinger, and then back to Shocktober with a look into Werewolf, the 1987 Fox TV pilot, and a little bit about the series with our good friend Jay Blake Fischera of Scored to Death. And then we had to have one of our recurring guests back yet again with a look back at A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 with E.K. Wimmer. And that was a ride, guys.
It's a good month. Good month.
Yeah.
Solid month.
I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, guys, if you haven't heard it, check it out in the archives at www.ReconCinemation.com. There's a lot to talk about in that one if you're not familiar with the movie, and those that are, I'm sure you'll have a good time listening back to that one. But of course, it's our Halloween tradition that we've got to talk about the main entry into the horror franchise, maybe with Halloween, and we're up to part 4.
Halloween 4.
Halloween 4, the return. Thank goodness. Holy crap. Get those ridiculous part 3 Halloween masks out of here and bring back the best bad guy ever.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
And I'm going to mute it.
Is he the best horror bad guy ever? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
What about Pinhead?
It's no.
Well, hey, look,
No.
man, I don't. Without Michael Myers, the success and the existence of a lot of these other very famous horror slasher villains doesn't even happen. So
Exactly.
in that context, yeah, I'd stand by him and Leatherface as kind of the forefathers to all like slasher villains. I mean, there were others, obviously. You've got Anthony Perkins and Psycho and things like that, but I mean, the original Halloween made so much money. Like, this really is what opened up the whole genre. So yeah, I stand pat.
Who do you think, guys? Who do you think the Mount Rushmore of horror villains are? Brent, let's start with you. Who's the top 4? Not even like your favorite, but who do you think the most iconic ones are?
I mean, well, they're gonna be my favorite. So I think it's got to be Michael Myers. I think it's got to be Leatherface, Jason Voorhees, and Freddy Krueger. Like, those are the 4 that I would put there. Probably in that order.
Okay, copy that.
So
David, what do you think? Popularity wise, just worldwide renown
of horror villains. Yeah, I mean, the Ghoulies. You got to throw a Ghoulie up there.
I love it.
Coming out of the toilet. Yep.
Yeah, they all
That's
like
it.
straight from the poster. So that's definitely one. I mean, Freddy's he's an icon. Big fan. And I'd probably just put Michael and Jason. So it's Freddy, Michael, Jason and the Ghoulies. That's my Mount Rushmore.
I think you nailed it.
I think you totally nailed it. I think I need to amend mine.
You want the Ghoulies in there?
Yeah.
I think that fourth spot is, it's debatable. It could be Leatherface. I think a lot of people would say Pinhead. I think some people might even say
Chucky.
Chucky. Yep. Candyman, maybe.
Oh, Candyman.
That's
what about Hannibal Lecter?
Relevant.
Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter. Sounds like a college professor. Like
I
a
know
garbage
people-
pail kid.
Yeah.
College.
Yeah.
Right. Garbage Pail Kids, where it was like smelly Ellie.
Adam
Smelly
Bomb.
Ellie.
Adam
Yeah.
Mad Max. And
I just bought some of those. So like, my son is like super into baseball cards right now. So we went to a baseball card shop to get him some packs, and they have 35th anniversary Garbage Pail Kids. And I saw them and I immediately was like, oh, I got to get some. So I bought, a few of them, and it was kind of funny to go back and look through them.
Did you get Brainy Brian?
No, didn't get Brainy Brian. I'd have to go get them. I'm so bad. There's so many, because now I can't remember any of them, but because they're like, every pack came with like doubles. They all have their alternative names. So,
Anyway. I wouldn't expect you to be able to just name drop the Garbage Pail Kids that you recently got.
I mean, I did see the movie as a birthday experience as a child in the theater. I was a pretty big fan.
Was Mackenzie Aston in that? Was he the main guy in Garbage Pail Kids?
You're beyond me now. That's wow. I was there.
I just worked with him, but it didn't come up in conversation. It probably should have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you didn't mention Garbage Pail Kids.
I know, what's wrong with me.
You failed. You got to keep that job because I don't.
He's in it, Mackenzie Aston.
It would have really been terrible if I did bring it up and he wasn't in the movie. That would have been.
Yeah. It's like, what are you saying?
But it's that time of year around the studio a lot. I love this time of year, and I know David does too. The leaves have changed colors; they're dropping. It's moody. It's gray. It's the perfect time to watch a Halloween movie. So
get some hot soup together.
Yeah, hot soup. Yeah. And then get the candy ready.
Blanket, and then get the candy.
The decorations are up all over the place. There's parts of this studio lot that are too scary for most employees to go through. So
the boiler room.
I mean, David does a great job every year of the deck. He's decorates for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Labor Day, and Arbor Day, and really goes to town. And but for this holiday in particular, employees just stay away from certain wings of the studio lot. So
It's true.
that
Safer
work
that
just
way.
doesn't get done.
It's if they go where they're not supposed to, they get hit with hot soup. So
Yeah.
that's just like the Halloween pranksters.
The hot pea soup and the Exorcist wing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, The
But
Exorcist.
just-
There's another. There's
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah, the devil, maybe the ultimate villain, or was it was it a lower demon in the Exorcist? Did it have a
the
name?
lower demon.
Yeah, I don't think they define it really. It's just
It's bad news.
Yeah, it's not good. Poor
Hmm.
Regan.
They're
Poor
about to. I think aren't they about to just reset that whole franchise and start over again?
When aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Why not?
Fair enough.
People love possession.
Yeah, it seems to be awfully.
People
I
love
like
a good possession.
I loved Repossessed. I thought that was one of the
That was great.
best movies.
That's so up your alley, David.
Oh, I adored that, and I hadn't seen The Exorcist. Like it was just a fun little movie.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch The Exorcist because again, it's like The Thing. It's one of those movies that's not just a horror movie. It's a great movie. So
Yeah, it is.
What
kind of
about,
like Halloween 4, Return
yeah.
of Michael Myers. So
I lift my eyebrow to that.
now I think everybody listening should pause this episode right now and go back into the archives and chronologically listen to our coverage on Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, and get caught up so they know where we're coming from as we head into this installment.
Yes.
Yeah, get caught up.
And now welcome back.
there you go.
All right, so Halloween 4. Brent, when was the first time you saw this one? Did you catch this? This is what, 88? So probably not in the theater, I'm guessing, right?
No, not in the theater. I definitely saw it as a kid, but it's one of those entries into the film franchise that's fairly benign and easily forgotten. So I can't really.
Out the gate.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to pull punches. Sorry. I'm really glad that Michael Myers is back, although we'll talk a little bit about this version of him, I'm sure, at some point, and I've got thoughts on that too. But this is, I don't remember exactly when I saw it, but nothing about this movie really stands out. So it's just not very memorable, so I don't really, it's hard to recall exactly when. I certainly saw it. I saw it, probably as close to when it released on home video as possible, probably 89, maybe 90 if I'm pushing it, but definitely would have seen it. But again, it doesn't really hold any, there's not a lot of weight to this one.
Yeah. Okay, understood. I'm not far from your opinion, and we're going to dive into that. But
yeah, I know. We'll get We'll get into.
Oh
this.
yeah, we'll get in the nitty gritty. David, what about you? Was this first time viewing for you?
Yep, just saw it for the first time this week.
Modern perspective. Okay,
Yeah.
So, and you loved it, and that's the episode.
It ranks at 9.8. Get on the board.
Yeah.
It does not.
That down.
It does not rank that high. But it was
all right.
Yeah,
cool.
it was a fun little tale. I'll tell you.
Yeah. All right. I saw this. Gosh, when was the first time? So I got into the Halloween franchise a little bit later. This was, 96 when I started working at Suncoast. And that's when I really started my videotape and Laserdisc collection. So I was just like, every paycheck, it was like at least half of it was going right back to Suncoast. So
Sure.
But I remember I got really into Halloween 1 and 2 in 1995, the summer of 95. Skipped over 3, as we talked about in that episode. And then finally 4, 4, 5, and 6 I got into. I remember hanging out with my friend Chris after school. His house was right by our high school. So after school, we'd grab one. I'd bring a tape with me, and we'd usually a horror movie, and we'd go back to his house and, watch something after school. And we went through all the Halloween movies. So that was the first time I saw this one. And for a long time, I really loved it. I thought this was a strong Halloween entry because it was, in general, taking it back to, in a sense, what made Halloween work. Now, I haven't seen it in, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 years, something like that. And watching it now, I have a very different opinion. It's
I was going to say, do you still feel like it is hard, like coming back to what made the first two work? Because I would say that this one is heavily influenced by movies that the first two heavily influenced,
correct,
but are not nearly on the same playing field, really, when it comes to like just filmmaking experience, you know, or film watching experience.
Well, I think part of the reason why I liked it so much at the time was it was only 1 through 6. So when that's your barometer, this is one of the stronger ones. But since then, especially seeing the reboot, that was, again, we covered that as well in the archives, you know, fairly strong. I felt like they had a couple things that didn't work for me, but overall, I thought that was a really solid movie and a good way to bring that back and take it back to a really serious, ominous, dark place that Halloween should always live in. So that, of course, will weaken a movie like this.
Yeah, it's been so long since I had seen 4, 5, and 6. Like I remember 6 because Paul Rudd's in it, and like, you know, I like Paul Rudd now, and like that's like it stands out to me. But like having seen 4, I'm trying to recall 5, and I'm not sure that I guess next year, it'll be exciting to see it again, probably with a very familiar kind of perspective as this one. But I wonder, this one I felt like was a little having, now that the reboot has started and you know, like they've ignored basically 3, 4, 5, 6, all of them.
2 through, you know,
they've
8,
ignored
like,
all of them. Like this one now, especially having not seen it for a while, it gets very confusing a little bit for me, because it's like, oh wait, so Jamie is Laurie's daughter, but it's not the Laurie's daughter that's in the reboot. It's a different person, and Laurie's dead, but wait, she's in H2O, so she's not really dead. Like there's just like taking all this information in now, living in the post like 4, 5, and 6 era when all this stuff is happening. Like it's a little bit much to to peel, to untangle
all this lore, all this non-canonical lore. Screws everything up.
It's like Star Wars.
The
books.
the extended universe, right? I mean, you know, I'm kind of in the same. I couldn't quite process. I forgot the second movie kind of revealed the brother sister connection between them, which was supposed to be in the first one, right? Something like that, or they hint at it in the first one.
They added that in for the TV version of the first one, which was they shot it during Halloween 2 and used those scenes for the TV cut of Halloween 1.
Got it. That's right. And then they made it real in the second one, right?
Right.
Is this like
that's so it's like a major plot line in the second film.
That's right. In the hospital.
Yes.
Hospital. Right?
Hospital.
So we're back in Haddonfield, Illinois. This was, I could see it was like sort of like let's try to do Halloween 1 over, but not do it the same way. Stylistically and mood wise, everything. It's like it's not a Halloween movie all. It's like you said, Brett, it's like it's being influenced by the movies it influenced.
Well, yeah, exactly right. It's like, oh, we know we want to bring Michael Myers back because 3 didn't do as well without him. So we need him because he's really the face of the franchise. Yeah. But then they're trying to catch up with where slasher movies have ended up, like with Jason Voorhees and kind of like this, you know, I don't know, the kind of, what's the word, like supernatural killer kind of approach. And you know, it just doesn't work. Like, especially in '88 when like a lot of the success, I think, of the early Friday the 13th movies were not only riding off like the excitement of what Halloween had kind of presented, but also the fact that you can do like these gory kills and like have all this stuff. But like 88, there's so much going on like that's like anti-gore and you know, like they're really trying to tone down violence and things like that in these movies that you can't really establish yourself as you know, a Voorhees influenced Michael Myers, because you don't have the ability to show the same things that you did, and they're not creative enough to get away with how they did it in the original movie, you know, where it's like all very implied but so well crafted that you think it's a lot worse than it really really is, just because of the storyteller behind the film, you know.
Yeah.
So this one just
This one feels the loss of John Carpenter and Deborah Hill big time.
Definitely.
And the crew, you know, Dean Cundy is the DP. It's a complete, tonal shift. But I think you hit the nail on the head. So let's set the table. Where are we in 1988 as this movie's coming about? Halloween 3 was a complete departure, as we discussed, that the franchise takes a complete right turn and has nothing to do with Michael Myers. It's trying to set up a new series of an event that happens each Halloween that's completely separate from the others, and just turning away from the Michael Myers section of it. And they didn't want to continue, or John Carpenter did not want to continue this franchise of this one killer. Not interested in that. He's barely interested in sequels at all. Except for Escape from LA, I guess. Thank God that was made.
I don't know where we'd be without it.
Yeah, but the fans really reacted so negatively to Halloween 3. And again, we discussed it in detail of like how some of us have really turned around on it and have some love for it. Some of us don't, Brent.
Well, yeah, but the thing is part 4 makes you appreciate part 3 a little bit more.
Doesn't it? But I think you can see now, look at the difference. And you can see that, Carpenter and his team's involvement in 3, big difference without them.
I agree. But at the same time, like I say that kind of joking about that, but also like, because they spent their time doing part 3 and trying to depart, I think that's what makes his coming back in part 4 weak, because they are trying to emulate something that now is like years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when was the last time we saw Michael Myers, right? It was
1981.
81. Okay. So 81 to 88, right? So like by that time, you've got all the Jason Voorhees movies, you've got Freddy Krueger and the Nightmare movies. Like, you're trying to compete with all those, and you're no longer setting the bar. You're like trying to catch up with the thing that you created, and it's just like really a miss. But if they had just kind of, instead of doing it that way, and part 3 was more a Michael Myers tale, they'd be more on the leading forefront than they are on the catch up.
Right.
And so like, seeing part 4 does make me appreciate part 3, but I still think part 3 is garbage.
All right.
And heavily to blame for why part 4 is garbage as well.
Yeah. Well, it's time had really passed Michael Myers by, and I think you're totally right that this movie is trying to be like a Friday the 13th movie and not really be a Halloween movie or a Michael Myers movie. Like, his character had changed, the tone had changed. You go into the well again, and they would continue to go to the well, and you'll see what happens to the franchise after this one and where it goes. But
they don't even do a good job of trying to recreate the tone. The tone, but I'm thinking even like the character. Like, if you're gonna try and follow like a Jason Voorhees, like, you want your killer to look like very foreboding and honestly, like this, the person in the mask in this movie, like at times, like it's just kind of laughable because it feel like I see scenes where it looks like literally they have stuffed him with like padding to try and make the character look big. Like there are scenes like where his shoulder, he looks like he's wearing like shoulder pads, like football shoulder pads. And I'm like, this is just goofy looking, you know, like he doesn't look really as menacing as I think they wanted him to. And the mask doesn't play as well. Like there's a lot of things that just subtle differences to the mask made a big difference in how like foreboding the character comes across.
Huge.
For sure.
Huge. I have big time problems with this particular Michael Myers and the mask, and it's a lot that doesn't work. But I just dialing back for 1 second, Mustafa Akkad, the producer of the series, it doesn't surprise me at all that after the misfire of Halloween 3 that they want to bring Michael Myers back. Obviously, it took a long time to do it, but that's no surprise that, like, all right, let's go back to what worked, you know, especially as those other characters are becoming so popular. So, you know, so he's going to go for that. And at the same time, Canon Films, of all people, go to Carpenter to make Halloween 4, who's not really interested. He is already doing his own career. He's Big Trouble in Little China, They Live has come out. Excuse me. So he hires, Carpenter turned to Dennis Atchison to write the script for Halloween 4, which is really interesting because I would have really liked to have seen this version of the movie get made. Maybe it still could, but it's a continuation after Halloween 2, and Haddonfield has rejected the entire holiday of Halloween and banned it. There's no celebrating, no acknowledging it. Everything is sort of hidden. And it becomes this theme of repression versus the acknowledgement of evil. And it's sort of an analogy to what was happening with the MPAA and horror films of this over censoring by 1988. As we'll see, the other franchises get censored more and more, especially Friday the 13th, that the gore is out. And then you're doing these weak kills where you don't see anything happen. They're these super violent insinuations of kills. And then eventually, you know, the townspeople revolt, and somehow Michael Myers, the shape, at least, does make an appearance. So would have been interesting to see that. But Akkad said, no way. We need a straightforward killer, just like the first movie. And Carpenter and Deborah Hill sell off their ownership rights. And that did not include Etchinson's script. And Akkad turned to Dwight Little as director and Alan B. McElroy to write the script. Now, McElroy is just coming off of, this is his first film.
Yikes.
So that's kind of getting thrown right into the fire.
Yeah. You write a successful franchise sequel movie.
A comeback too. Like
a comeback. Yeah. Like this has got to be iconic. It's got to be big. We want it to sell more tickets than ever.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You got this.
Yeah. No pressure. It's you're good. And let me just add in, there's a writer's strike looming. So he has to do all of this in 11 days from pitch to final script in 11 days.
Executive approval, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about having the stack decked against you, or the deck stacked against you.
I mean, kudos to him. I will say, like, if that's what they're working with, obviously they're not going to have had time to work out the script problems or make it better, you know, and that's what this feels like, is like sort of a first draft almost. But that's what they're going with. And that's the version that we saw on screen. And there were his script did have a bigger ending where the Sheriff Meeker gets killed in the house, and the house gets lit on fire, and they're, you know, the climactic scene between Jamie and Michael is on the roof while it's on fire, and of course the budget was not going to allow that. So so we saw what we ended up with. But I don't know. Well, let's get into like what doesn't. I think we're all on the same page that this movie has a lot of issues.
Right.
And let's get into what doesn't work. Let's go back to what you were talking about, Brent. Michael Myers himself. So George P. Wilbur is a longtime stuntman which wasn't uncommon for a stuntman to play Michael Myers. That made sense. I think Dick Warlock, who's a legendary stuntman, did a great job with it in the second movie. But his stature is entirely different. Just a different body language. We did talk about it in Nightmare on Elm Street 2 when they tried to replace Robert Englund, and we saw one shot with it where it was clearly not Englund. And there's a shot in this movie too. I don't know if you guys caught it, where I guess they were using a completely different mask for a period of time, and with like blonde hair. And there's a shot when they're in the school and Michael throws Donald Pleasance through the door. If you look at Michael, he's got like his hair is completely
I noticed
light.
that.
Yeah, it's like right in the.
It stuck out.
Yeah,
it was very noticeable.
So, I think I had heard that they tried to use the original mask, but it had worn down too much and wasn't really wearable anymore. But what happened? Like this mask is nothing. Like it doesn't work.
They can't recast that. Like they can't. You can't recreate it because the one that they did is not even.
It's not William Shatner. Like that's the thing. The mask is a William Shatner. Was it
the sideburns?
TJ Hooker? Was this? I think this was before TJ Hooker.
Or was it Captain Kirk? And he had the sideburns and eyebrows removed, and they painted it white.
Right.
And that was it. And it's great. And this one like is just strange. Like even the material like seems more like like it gives like this plastic reflection that is just, I don't know, like it's like it takes me out of it being scary, and it's
the Spencer Gifts version of the mask.
It just seems cheaped up, like like it's just a kind of a very knockoff version.
Yeah
it's just Michael is just unrecognizable. The shape is just unrecognizable. He seems like a thinner, clunkier, like just weirdly designed facsimile. So
yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, once you I mean, there's just no way they have the same body types like at all. So and then again, like you see just kind of it just seems small of stature, small of frame. I don't know, like he doesn't seem that menacing when
all these franchises like they keep running into this issue, and Nightmare on Elm Street's the only one that does it right, that they spent the money and got Robert Englund.
The guy.
Yeah, every movie, and it works.
Well,
right. I mean, there's a lot of
talk.
personality with that character too, though, that comes with Robert Englund.
Sure.
But I think that there, that being said, like there's obviously a lot of personality in how you, your stature and how you move. And, I mean,
oh yeah,
there are
body language.
Yeah. I mean, there are actors that, get paid great money today.
Yeah.
Just based off the fact that they're body actors,
Well, here's the difference too. Nick Castle, who did it in the first movie, is, I guess, he's really a director, but at the time was doing some acting as well. So not a stunt person. And this is nothing against stunt people, but Dick Warlock was obviously a stunt person, but did some acting as well. George Wilbur here, I think strictly a stunt person. So just not as strong performance wise. It just didn't have that energy.
Yeah, he's trained in the art of taking a hit, taking a fall, not like in body movement necessarily.
Right. Like there was, those moments in the first movie and the second where like Michael just turns. Like all he has to do is turn and look at you, or and that's all it took, and you get chills. I've watched the first movie, I don't know how many times, and I still like some of those moments, like when he just appears out of the shadow right behind Jamie Lee Curtis in the house, like right next to the stairs. Just that is like that's something that you can picture in the middle of the night, going, getting up and walking to the bathroom or walking to the kitchen. Like you can picture that happening, and that's horrifying. But this, it's like this dude looks silly. Like you'd laugh.
Yeah.
You know?
I was sort of like throughout this whole movie, I think I was just like, I think I was really bored. Like I think the entire time, like this was like this.
It's slow.
It's slow and it doesn't. There's nothing that grab you, and then I don't know. It just and having I don't know having a minor child being almost killed like 1,000 times, or at least and just screaming her head off all the time. I'm like, I don't know how many times she can scream and cry, and I'm like, I'm sick of kind of watching this like 10-year-old girl or whatever like screaming that she's gonna die, without because it's again he doesn't seem like that big of a threat. He's killing people, but like the way it's presented isn't even. A lot of those kills are just nothing. They're just nothing. Like
I mean,
I don't know. It doesn't even seem like a real threat. So then it's just sort of like, I don't know. Like there was nothing exciting or engaging about this for me. And you know how I love horror movies.
We all know. Yeah.
So if I can't get on board.
Well, and I just felt bad for Jamie. Like I felt sad for her character that like nobody's really helping her. She's dealing with a lot of trauma of her mother's death, and knowing what happened with Michael Myers and feeling this sense that he's coming for her, with really having no clue, no actual physical evidence of that. Like that kid's got some mental health problems and that somebody needs to deal with, and nobody is actually like really connecting with her or talking to her or seeing what's happening to her.
Yeah, she continues to have these like reoccurring visions that everybody seems to be sort of aware of, but like at no point is she talking, like, do they take her to go see a doctor or have a conversation with a professional about the trauma that she's, undergone? It's just like, it's.
But Brent, Rachel's got a date with Brady. So we all know that's priority.
Very important.
And that brings me to a lot of, okay, let's move away from Michael for a minute. Do we actually like any of these characters? When you look back at the first movie, I felt like you like Laurie Strode. You want her to survive. There's something about Jamie Lee Curtis and that character that seems just a young kid. Like she's giving you no reason to want to see her die. Right. Whereas these people, like off the bat, you don't really know them at all. Like, do we like Rachel? What do you guys think?
Do we not? Do we? I mean, she's kind
care?
of like,
she's fine. I don't know. She's just caught up in all this mess.
I mean, her interest, like she's definitely, her focus is on her own personal relationship with Brady over anything else. I think with the original movie, they never give you anybody to like intentionally dislike. Like there's, whereas other than Michael Myers, of course. And so with this one though, there's a bunch of like people that are kind of douchey, schwarmy, and you're like, okay.
I mean, off the bat, like Brady is, you can tell he's going to cheat on her with Kathleen Kinmont, like right away.
100%.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah. Where that's going. So, and then
you just look at that guy and he's like, yeah, he's not, he's just looking.
Right.
He's not a one-woman man.
No.
Yeah, no. And, Rachel's just really dealing with Jamie because she's forced to, although she doesn't seem like a bad person. She's just a high schooler,
I mean, she feels bad when Jamie overhears her saying that she's got to go on the date. Like, like obviously I don't think she's like intentionally trying to hurt her feelings, but she's totally self-centered and like what is driving her, throughout the course of this, at least the first half of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like, she's not necessarily the role model or the heroine that you want, like protecting Jamie. Right. Why would we? She hasn't shown us that she's up to the standards of being a person to root for, you
Yeah.
know, like, it's like, okay, like you're not selfless. Like you're not, you know, I mean, it's just like, I don't know, pretty simple things that you're kind of hoping for from the person that you're cheering for
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
these type of movies.
Well, and this movie marks the shift of the franchise from Jamie Lee Curtis to Donald Pleasance. So now we're entering like he's the lead, he's the star. It's the sort of like the beginning of a trilogy, the Dr. Loomis trilogy here.
Oh, is he in the next two?
Oh yeah.
But he doesn't even show up till like 30 minutes into this movie, you know, like, right? Like they
Right.
talk about him, but he doesn't show up until the gas station.
Right.
I think. Isn't that like the first time we?
No, we see him. No, we see him before that. It's right
do? Okay.
after
He goes to the ambulance.
he goes
Is
to
there
Michael
at the accident?
Pataki and like says like you let him out. You didn't even like okay it with me, you know.
Right. Okay. Fair
Or you
enough.
transferred him. So
We see him within 10, 15 minutes.
I don't understand why he's not. If they're gonna transfer
It doesn't
his
make sense.
patient Michael Myers, like, first of all, why do you even need to transfer
exactly.
a dude in
the-
a coma? But like, whatever. Like, we're okay with this type of nonsense. But like, why wouldn't Donald Pleasance be there for that?
there's so much, you know, they try to cover it. Like they Michael Pataki's character mentions that he's Dr. Loomis is his doctor in name only. He's basically just holding a title position and doesn't have any authority, but they duck over that pretty quickly. I don't, you know, to me, Dr. Loomis in this feels like the boy who cried wolf. You know, it's like, how many times can we just do the same Dr. Loomis thing? This is the third time of what will become, you know, 5
Right.
times.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
We playing the same notes without much of a change. There's that moment where he's riding in the car with that old priest who
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien would refer to as Oldie Olson.
Yeah. It's an interesting scene. Like,
yeah, where you
that's-
see him laugh a little bit, like
he's
shows,
like laughing, like a weird smirk. He's like drinking out of this dude's fifth of whiskey that he's
Yeah.
just like, okay, all right, this is important.
Yeah.
Question mark.
I think it's an attempt to just show Loomis is not just a one-note raving lunatic.
Mhm.
Like this is like this little break he gets to have.
Yeah.
But by
But-
showing, they
but-
do that by showing him like bonding with another guy who seems like a raving lunatic.
Right.
And then like the closeout scene is Loomis looking over at the guy, a raving lunatic, with this really like peculiar smile, you know, like it does, like it's not like, it's almost a giddy enjoyment, you know, like it's a weird like
Yeah.
showing of I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I like Loomis in this. I like Loomis in all of them.
I do too.
Donald
I mean,
Pleasance is great, but like it's just a kind of a strange scene.
I'm okay with Loomis personally, but I can see that, like, again, it's just it's a struggle for the movie as a
Yeah.
whole. But yeah, and then the transferring of Michael Myers, like the whole thing doesn't make sense. Like you're why are you transferring him? And on top of that, why on earth would you not strap this dude who's like the worst serial killer, most dangerous person? Yeah, he's been in a coma for 10 years or whatever, but like take the precaution of strapping his arms down. Like,
Sure.
ridiculous.
Even if it's for safety reasons, you
Right.
know, like,
well, it would be like
yeah, like
you would secure anyone in an ambulance, you secure them. They're not rolling around in there, but and then they immediately pay for it. Like
you
they're
gotta love
they
late
like
80s sensibilities.
they had just left the hospital and like Myers is up and poking his thumb through the dude's forehead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, there's a lot of logistical issues there that jumped out right away that like come on, there's ways to like just tighten that up that could have been avoided.
Yeah, it's just like let's get him to Haddonfield as quickly as possible.
And that's
Yep.
that's Mustafa Akkad right there. Like, just get him there, get the knife in his hand, get the mask on, and get him around the teenagers. So, The sequence at the gas station where Donald Pleasance becomes an action star of somebody half his age, like that sequence, you could see that echoed like almost identically in the new movie, in the 2018 movie. Because there's the same thing. The podcaster and the two podcasters like come to that gas station, and it's literally like the same thing. That's where he gets his mask, and they find the body behind the counter and have their confrontation there. So you could still see a little inspiration coming from this movie. So
yeah.
You're on the road. What are you going to do? You go to a gas station, get your supplies.
Yeah.
Kill some people.
And he happened to stop at the same one where Michael Myers was still at.
Yeah. How about that? He was hot on the trail.
It's the only gas station for like 40 miles. They had to
I guess that's possible in that, Illinois and those fields, like they're not all over the place. Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Having driven through some desolate areas myself, I will say there are places where really there's only one stopping spot.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially in 1988.
Yeah, I guess. All right, fine. I'll give it. I'll back off on that one.
I mean, like he would just follow the most direct route from the sanitarium to Haddonfield, right?
Yeah, I mean, Loomis has he's not confused about where this dude's going. Like,
not at all.
At no point is like, where's Michael going? Like, he knows exactly.
Yeah.
Like, Michael's going to Haddonfield 100% the whole time. So he's just, what's the quickest route from A to B?
Right. Google Maps took the route.
That's right.
It gets you there.
Michael probably had his iPhone and just plugged it in, and that'd be cool. Michael, do a little spin-off. Michael and current modern technology.
Yeah. Just Michael Myers navigating a MacBook Air.
Michael Myers and Alexa, the new relationship for the ages.
Yeah.
They're gonna do those in the next round of reboots of the Scary Movie franchise.
Oh yeah.
Just because all the scary movies have been rebooted, they now have to reboot the Scary Movie franchise.
Yeah.
That's right.
What did you guys think? So Loomis gets to Haddonfield, goes right for the police station. What did you think about Sheriff Meeker, played by Bo Starr, who we have seen in movies like Goodfellas as Henry Hill's dad in the opening sequences? But Sheriff Meeker versus Sheriff Brackett, played by Charles Cyphers, who is one of John Carpenter's regular players. How do you feel about the difference between those sheriffs?
I'm glad he was just like pretty much on board after only a couple minutes of convincing.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't think he's as strong, but he didn't bother me. But yeah, it didn't take him long to be like, yeah, okay, I'm with you, Loomis. Let's go.
I like that. I like that. All right, in the world of this story, this town has been through this horrible trauma twice now. They would be like, if someone came and said that, they would probably take their word for it. That this is a thing. So it took like a minute and a half, and they're like, all right, we'll go check it out.
Yeah.
Whereas your typical horror movie, the sheriff is like almost always the one who doesn't believe it, isn't, or is real slow to come around. So
right. 20 more people die, and then finally he's like,
oh, we better do something.
Yeah.
And then you get Myers just like slaughtering people. You don't even see it in the sheriff's station. They come back later, and all of those sheriffs are the police are all, they're just bodies everywhere. And you can see like limbs are cut off, and like, what did he do to these people?
Yeah.
We'll never know.
And it's like that doesn't really, that it's kind of, it's threatening, I guess, but it's not like, it doesn't feel scary. He's just like a giant force, like, oh, he's a tornado. Like, but not in the way like the shape is threatening.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like this is just some random shit that's going on.
The thing that is so scary about Michael Myers in the first movie and a little bit in the second is that he's watching, and the spying and the like planning and the just observing and almost in broad daylight, and no one sees him. Like that eerie, it's almost like a mysticism thing. This like that he can be in broad daylight and not be seen, and just with that blank expression, just those around the hedge in the first movie where he's watching her walk away. That's like one of the creepiest things, and it's a very like that is a realistic thing that unfortunately happens.
Right.
And this Michael Myers is the Jason Voorhees version of Michael Myers, where it's just this indestructible force who's just killing anything in its path and doesn't matter. I think the current version of Michael Myers is sort of a blend of the two. That in the new film, I really enjoyed the sequence where he's walking through, like everybody's out on the street, all the kids and the parents are all trick-or-treating, and he's walking right through them and just like going around down a driveway into a house, killing somebody out, it's like, that's creepy. But he's super violent in the new movie, so it's you get a little bit of the Jason thing.
I am kind of interested to see the payoff for how he survives the burning house.
It doesn't make sense.
But
well, it'll honestly probably be like this one, that they just this one they write off that. I mean, the end of Halloween 2 is a massive explosion of which Loomis and Myers are at the epicenter, standing next to the gas canisters.
Right. Well, at least Loomis has a burn on his face in this one. You know what I mean?
Well, Myers went into a coma.
Yeah. Well, and you have to imagine under his mask, because I mean, when he's in the coma in the hospital, his face is all wrapped up, because even though he was burnt 10 years ago, it's still healing.
Yeah.
So his face is all wrapped up in gauze. So you assume that he's all burnt and toasty.
Yeah. And Loomis just survives, just got some scarring there, but that's it. And that's insane to me, but they just move on right away. They don't
let's not even focus on it.
And I want to say that in 5 and 6 that the scarring on Loomis is like less and less each movie.
Right.
I could be wrong.
It was less and less throughout this movie. Like the first time you see him, he looked kind of mangled, and then like later on, it's just sort of like they've applied something to his cheek.
Yeah.
He doesn't look disfigured.
Yeah. It's just at that point where he's really turned the corner on the healing process.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. So we've said it, that this Michael is just so different than the Michael that we all fell in love with.
Right. Well, at least set the bar.
Yeah, exactly. So there was let's see, there was some other, I think, sequences where what do you guys think about the supposedly in losing the big sequence at the end with the Meeker house on fire, they replaced some of that with adding this love triangle storyline. So now I love Sasha Jensen, who plays Brady, is one of my favorite parts about Dazed and Confused. Fantastic
100%.
In that movie.
I was excited to see him in this. I was like, oh,
yeah,
it's Sasha.
Yeah. But
I totally forgot he was in this.
Brady is like, you're back and forth that like, he's kind of skeevy and cheats on Rachel, but I guess then tries to like earn back some kind of honor at the end as he gets some courage.
Sure.
But I don't know. What do you think about that storyline? Do you feel that soap opera thing was necessary?
Not at all.
It's just to create some tension when they all have to be together. Like it's not, it's just this artificial thing that doesn't really work.
Because
who cares?
In that house at the end, I was definitely worried about what was going to happen when Rachel and that girl confronted each other. Not worried about Michael Myers, just worried about that meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Rachel could have just been the sheriff's daughter, and like you don't even need that character. I mean, it's just what point did she serve other than I mean, I honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could have done without that character. And so you could have done without, right. I think you're totally right. You could have done without the Kathleen Kinmont character. You could have done without Rachel's parents and just merged all that.
Yeah, 100%.
And then it would make sense. Then there'd be some more depth to it, right? Because Sheriff Meeker adopts Jamie, Laurie Strode's daughter, partially because of like feeling some kind of responsibility of what happened, that that there's like a connection between the two of them. Look at this. We're rewriting.
Oh my goodness. It's already better. Like
Halloween 4 Redux right here.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I like a lot of these actors. I like both Star as an actor. I think Danielle Harris is actually great as Jamie. I think she does.
Oh yeah, she's good.
She was everywhere too, wasn't she? Like I felt like every sitcom, she like it was like Full House and whatever. Like she was on every show.
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
remember her commercials
I couldn't pinpoint it, but I was like, oh my god, I know this girl. Like I've seen her in a million things.
Yeah,
well,
like,
she
girl, right? Like
yeah, she plays Bruce Willis's daughter in Last Boy Scout, which is
Right.
the thing that like she sticks out most for me, where I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly where I like remember her from. But yeah, she was in a bunch of different things, like you were saying, John, just kind of all over the place, like a couple episodes here, a couple episodes there.
Yep.
So yeah,
she's great. She's good in it. She's fine. Like the thing, everyone in it's fine. They do a good job. But just sometimes I like the characters are so one note a little bit. Like unfortunately, Jamie's just constantly in terror and screaming all the time.
Yeah.
Which sure, and then Donald Pleasance is kind of a raving lunatic, and then but I like everyone in it. I think there's everyone's brings their game to it.
Yeah,
but I just don't think it's like the script is just kind of blah.
Yeah, that's and
just blah, boring.
I wonder if they had more than 11 days to get this script done, what we could have ended up with. Maybe it would have. Maybe a lot of these problems would have gotten fixed. They just didn't have the time to do it.
Yeah,
or they pushed the movie. And studios really want films to make their release dates, and the last resort is to push that.
Yeah. It seems like it's kind of just a serviceable movie. It's like functionally it's a film, right? But like there's just nothing interesting about it. There's nothing engaging that pulls you in. It's just boring to me. I
mean, if anything, what it does is it puts Michael Myers out there again so people don't forget about him completely.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Like, because if they had not, even though this is not well done or a really great attempt, like it certainly helped perpetuate Mike Myers as a character. And it got us to a point where, like we had H2O come out. We had Rob Zombie do his take on it. We had now the Halloween and Halloween Kills that are coming out. And to be honest, if it had just ended on part 3 with the masks and they hadn't have tried to bring him back into the pop culture zeitgeist, like none of that probably would have happened. He probably would have just faded away, and everybody would have been great having fond memories of the first 2 movies, and still give credit to Michael Myers as one of the forefathers of the slasher flick. But I don't think we'd still be seeing movies pumped out today with this story continuing on.
Yeah. I agree that I guess that's the plus side of it, is it's bringing that character back, bring the franchise back to, I don't know if it should be there, but that's, trying to compete with Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street specifically. At least getting some more content with Michael Myers. But there are a couple other things I did like about this movie. I love that opening credit sequence. I think it's one of the best jobs I've seen of setting a tone. That eerie Alan Howarth score, who I love Alan Howarth, and I think he also did a great job of stepping in for Carpenter and using the original theme, updating it, but then the rest of the score I think is strong. But like just those shots, just those of Midwest, whatever, like with the sun going down and all those, is just something eerie about the pitchfork just standing there. I think that does a really, really good job of like that could have gone in the first movie to me. Like that flowed really nicely with that. And it feels like a complete second unit kind of shoot. But I think that's honestly like the thing I love most about this movie. When I think about it, I think about the opening credit sequence and the tone that was set. It's unfortunate the rest of the movie doesn't quite match that.
Yeah. Doesn't live up to that. Yeah, I never thought about that. That actually that is a pretty good.
Just like go on YouTube and just watch the opening credits again. It's like 2 minutes, and it's like, ooh, like this is it. We're setting it up well, and then they immediately turn a corner on it. But
they kind of shagged it.
Yeah. What do you guys? How do you guys feel about the ending?
Shanked it.
Shanked it. Yeah,
shanked it.
What part of the ending?
So the very end, the twist surprise ending.
I actually don't. Okay? Yeah, I don't hate that. I like that they tried to set that up. I think that that's really neat. I don't think that, like I don't know that. I wish that there was, I guess, more involved in that, because I feel like it. Like I get it. She's having visions and stuff like that. She does like kind of randomly pick a costume that's exactly like Michael's. Is it Michael's costume from when he was a kid? Right. So, I mean, I guess they do plant the seeds. So I do, but knowing that they don't really continue that in the next movie, like, it's a bummer, right? Like it's something that I think they could have explored a lot more.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of was like, oh, that's a really cool idea, and it's buried.
Does she not go to a sanitarium and disappear forever?
Well, it's really the same thing that happens with the Tommy Jarvis character in the Friday the 13th franchise. That the end of part 4, it's set up as if Corey Feldman's version is going to take on the mantle of becoming Jason Voorhees, and here it's set up as if Jamie is going to become the next Michael Myers, and then the next movie it's just like, nope, that none of that happened. They're just still the hero.
They don't like they don't even reference that ending. Like,
I don't remember. Next year we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I again, like another alternate reality version of this movie to me is about Jamie's PTSD and how deep that goes and how big of a thing that really can be for people, that almost like Michael was never real. Michael was a fiction, like just a figment of her imagination. And then by the end of the movie, she's just let that take hold and has sort of become it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then, like that ties into like, which we never get into in the movies. In the novelization, that's like $1,000 online.
What?
For the first movie, they do get into like, how did Michael Myers, this kid, like what happened to him to make him become like this? And they get into the cult and Sam Hain and all this stuff that of what triggered that. So if you want to spend all that money on the novelization of the first book, go for it, and we'll share it. I'm sure E.K. Wimmer would love to partake in that.
Should set up a Patreon account.
Patreon just to get that.
Yeah. See if we can't get some donations to help with that cost.
Yeah. But this could have tied, I like how it's the reference back to, Michael as a child, the unknown turn into this villain. So I think there was definitely that was a strong area to go to, and then they just kind of blew it.
Well, because you'd want, if you're going to make another Halloween movie, you want to have Michael Myers, right? You don't want to have
Right.
the little girl.
Right.
Well, they did that once without Michael Myers, and it wasn't great.
Yeah.
Right.
Residual effects.
Yeah. So,
well, and I think we might as well talk about it. It's time for box office glory. Because that's gonna, I think, affect what happens with that Jamie storyline. So, okay, movie's released October 21st, 1988. It had a $5 million budget, which is pretty low budget for these for a movie like this. It opens number one. It has 6.8 million opening weekend. It's up against Without a Clue, Mystic Pizza, and the Gene Hackman classic Bat 21. It ends up with, I love that movie, Bat 21. Danny Glover, Gene Hackman, come on.
Gene Hackman, anytime.
Yeah.
oh,
17.7 million domestically. I couldn't quite get a total worldwide, but that's a decent profit for what they put in. They're
Sure.
tripling their money there. So it ends up number 55 of 1988, right between Above the Law and Frantic, which is a Harrison Ford film. So so it's that's where it is. It box office wise, it ranks currently number 6 of the Halloween franchise, right between parts 2 and 6. Now, I don't include those Rob Zombie movies that's blasphemy.
Well, I know we don't count them, but you have to Danielle Harris, who plays Jamie, is
a part of it. Yep.
She's in both of them.
Oh, she's in the Rob Zombie movies?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, tell us who she plays
In the Rob Zombie movies?
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've seen those movies, but the character name is
wasn't
Annie,
she Michael's
Annie Brackett.
Oh, Annie, that's Sheriff Brackett's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
played by Nancy Loomis in the first movie and briefly in the second.
Got it.
So so Danielle Harris became like another Scream queen. Like she went on to do so many horror movies.
Many. Like her IMDb is just filled with horror movies. Some of them are great if you haven't seen things like Hatchet 2. Like those are kind of good throwbacks to the old slasher flicks. Stakeland is another good one that was on Netflix for a long time. But anyway.
Yeah, so
I know we don't count them, but she's in them.
Yeah, that's true. No.
Ties them together still a little bit.
Yeah. Malcolm McDowell's in those, but those are just they're so far removed from what
I haven't seen them in so long. I don't even know if I saw the second one, to be honest.
I'm not a Rob Zombie film fan.
I liked House of a Thousand Corpses, but that's probably it.
Yeah.
Devil's Rejects, not as much. Yeah.
These ones were just, Halloween is such a special movie. It's like some of those classics, like you don't remake them. Like if you want to keep the best thing they did was,
but they all get remade. Like,
no, I know they do it, but it's like, look what happens. They're nothing. Like they're not memorable. There's a reason these movies are classic.
But okay, here's a question. Like, let's take a look at, we're talking about remakes, right? Like in the world of the remakes of these big ones, right? Like the Halloweens and Friday the 13th and we'll say Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like of those three, like which of the current remakes or the contemporary remakes do you think is the best?
Well, here's the thing: the new Halloween movie, the 2018 one, that's not a remake. It's
no. I'm talking about Rob Zombie.
Okay.
Like Rob Zombie's
Oh God,
contemporary versus whatever the Friday the 13th.
I would say that
remake.
for sure, because that's a remake of part 2. So
Yeah, exactly. It's a remake of part 2. It shat completely on what the original Friday the 13th was. Didn't even acknowledge it.
I'm gonna go with Friday the 13th because I think Halloween is awful, the Rob Zombie one, and the Nightmare on Elm Street one, which I just watched for the first time, is
awful,
terrible. It's terrible.
That was it really?
Yeah,
it's very bad. I mean, because again, like with Nightmare on Elm Street, like without Robert Englund, like honestly, like everything hinges, I feel like, on him as Freddy Krueger. Like, I mean, it just really keeps it all kind of, of course, I grew up during the time of the originals. There might be people who think the new ones are great, but I would say that the Rob Zombie Halloween is stronger than either of those other two. That's what I would say.
I don't like I'm not a fan of Rob Zombie's style. So
I hear you.
So I know he has plenty of fans and followers and they love his movies and good for them. But
yeah, I'm not like necessarily a Rob Zombie fan, but I prefer that. I mean, I don't think any of them are good. Yeah. And this is
you're ranking 3 things you don't like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like, but
which is the best of the shitty things?
Fair enough, David.
I mean, I understand. It's an interesting question, but who cares? Like, you guys don't like these movies.
Well, I really do like that Friday the 13th movie. That
but it's not
or 10 one.
It's not a true remake. Like, it's a complete
No, it's kind of like the 2018 Halloween in that it's a new sequel only related to the first one. So it's wiping everything else clean.
All right, fair enough.
I guess he gets the mask sooner. I'm assuming in that one.
Yeah,
he's born with it.
I think what they did with the 2018 Halloween is the best thing that you could do. Is that you're not
continue the story and you totally ignore any. Yeah, I agree. Right. I mean, there's no way they were going to be able to make a movie off. I mean, where do you even start? So yeah, I think you go back to the original because, I think for the most part, other than those fans, like general audiences didn't really care for either of the Rob Zombie movies. Like the first original Carpenter movie and its sequel still have kind of, they still carry the most clout out of all of them.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Why not?
That movie's got street cred. I mean, that's like you watch that in film school.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
We ended our history of horror cinema on that movie. That was the last lesson.
Yeah. That was a great class.
Also, the success of the 2018 Halloween is it rides the mystique of 40 years of history of, he's this impending presence. Like, Laurie Strode is completely crazy, right? Like he hasn't been around in 40 years and she's preparing that he's this force of nature just based on that one movie.
Well, she's Loomis.
Right.
Which makes sense.
But like there's almost no evidence that why he's not a serial, he had that one night after getting released and targeting her, and then now she's prepared that like the months, like she's done so much preparation to prepare for him to come back inevitably, but that doesn't work if you didn't have all these sequels where he perpetually comes back.
Sure.
It's the lore kind of in the history. It's a shortcut to make that character make sense. I mean, it's awesome, and the thing is, it's awesome. Like, I really enjoyed the Halloween movie, and knowing that it's writing the history and the legend of Michael Myers more so than the fact that if those two movies just existed without anything in between, no one would would kind of believe it. I think. I don't know how good it would be.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Like, because she's just a raving lunatic who's preparing herself. Like, why would you think this guy is going to break out in 40 years and kill you? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I
So,
think
like,
she just.
So what you're? Oh, go ahead, John.
No, just that she knew it was going to happen someday, not like
yeah,
she didn't know
not
when
that year,
but
not
it was
that
just
year,
like
yeah.
she's just always going to be ready because she just had an instinctual awareness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it works. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a good take on the character. It's fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, it is. It's cool.
But Halloween is the most convoluted of all the franchises because there's so many different. It's like a tree, there's so many branches of it. It's like the continuity is like 1 and 2, and then 1 in the 2018 one. But then there's, I guess 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then there's
3.
And 3 is a totally separate thing. But then there's 1 and 7. And then 1 and 8, H7 is H2O.
Yes,
because Jamie Lee Curtis is just back in that with no explanation about anything that happened in the 3 prior movies.
Well, and isn't she dead? And isn't she supposed to be dead? Like,
yeah, I mean, she's dead in it from a car crash in between Halloween's 2 and 4 somewhere.
Yeah,
probably close to 4.
Yeah, so she's so it's got to be 1 and. Yeah, right. 1 and 8 or 1 and 7.
And they've rebooted it so many times. And 8
which one's 8?
8 is Resurrection, starring Busta Rhymes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was the one that's like, we'll get to it in
the
a
reality.
few years.
Yeah. Yeah, well, David's so excited for that one.
That one's gonna blow your mind.
In 5 years when we get to it.
I don't think so.
Yeah. No,
I don't think so, Tim. Catchphrase.
Oh my god. So yeah, it's really hard to when you're explaining Halloween to someone, it's like, how do you tie all these movies together? Well, you don't. They're kind of like their own deal. But 4, 5, and 6 are their own trilogy, the Loomis trilogy, the Loomis and Jamie trilogy that we're going down that road now.
This is amazing. You guys talk so fondly of this franchise, and it's like 1.5 movies are good.
Like, that's the funny thing about all of them is that when you look at all of them, the bad ones greatly outweigh the number of bad ones outweigh the number of good ones, but the good ones are so good that you stay committed to it.
I mean, the first one is good enough to like whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. People can keep throwing darts, and people are going to keep trying to go and see if a dart hits, because the first one was that good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how shitty everything else has been or mediocre or whatever.
It's like when there's proof that something works, studios are going to keep going to it and keep giving it another chance. Even directors, who make one great movie right out of the gate, can make the entire rest of their career shitty movies because it's like maybe
look at M. Night Shyamalan.
Exactly. Boom. There you go.
There you go.
Although I think he had more than one good movie.
Yeah, the first couple were okay, but yeah.
And
Which, funnily enough, we talked about Unbreakable back in year 1, which you can hear in the archives at www.ReconCinemation.com. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Halloween 4. Michael Myers sure did return, didn't he?
He did. He's back.
He sure did return.
We had a lot to say about it.
More than I thought we would.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to rank it real quick. Amongst the 4 that we've seen, I'm going to go my personal taste from favorite to least favorite. 1, 3, 2, 4.
Same.
David, you agree?
1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Brent, you're going 3 first, right?
Oh yeah, put it up there. I think I'm just going to go numerical order. 1, 2, 3, 4. But 3 and 4 are interchangeable, honestly.
Fair.
It's
not like you're not like, well, this one's definitely better. It's like
Yeah, I mean, I
You'd
guess
rather never see them again. So it's like,
I would rather not watch either one of them again.
Yeah.
I appreciate 4 because it is trying to bring Michael Myers back, but it did such a crappy job that it's like hard to give it the credit.
It's not the same, and then you get your ending with that's mirrors one of the Frankenstein movies. I can't remember if it was House of Frankenstein or one where he basically gets knocked down into this old mine shaft and then crawls out, and
Loomis is like he's dead and buried in hell where he should be. Like, you don't want to check that out, man. Like, all this shit's going on, you don't want to just look down there and make sure.
You don't want to do the horror movie trope where you walk over and nudge the body. You don't want to do that? No. Okay. But yeah, we'll see where this franchise goes next, and we're gonna have a good time doing it. Even if whether the movie's great or not, we have a good time together going through all these films. So
that's a fact.
Yeah, and we had a great time this Shocktober at ReconCinemation. Again, check some of those films out in the archives. We had a lot of special guests this month, and this was our first time without a special guest in like 4 episodes.
Crazy,
right? It was like, I think The Fog was the last one that was just us, and then we had John Kazempel, then we had Blake, and then we had EK back. So
the good news is it's like riding a bike. Felt like we just fell right back into it, fellas.
Yeah, we're riding that not a tricycle, but a 3-seater bike all through the lot again, just us. Right. So
the 3 amigos.
But yeah, we've got a very special lineup coming this November. Stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun with an actor we've never had on the show before. And it's a month dedicated to this person.
This person's done a lot of movies.
A lot of movies, yeah. And we're going to take a look. Oh, I take it back. There was one. I just recalled that.
I'm trying to think.
Anyway, we'll see. It's going to be a special month. We're going to have a lot of fun as we head towards Thanksgiving, and the holiday seasons are coming, and Christmas is around the corner. David, this week you got to get these spooky decorations down and get the turkeys up.
Yeah, well, the live turkey pen will be open shortly.
Nice.
You're just gonna hang live turkeys around all over.
Yeah, they'll fly around, and they're I'm not gonna hang live turkeys. That sounds cool.
That sounds uncool, man.
You really got to get out of these horror movies.
Yeah. But it's gonna be hard to round up all the black cats I've released on the lot, though. Every year it's a trouble.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah,
the hardest part
is hunting the safe capture hunting.
Safe capture hunting, yes.
Yeah, the black cats. I store them in one of the stages, so they just live on the stage for a year.
Stage 3. It's Catville.
Yeah, it's
Cat Town.
Cat Town. So until someone wants to rent that space out, that's where I'm keeping the cats.
Yeah, exactly. We got to use it for something.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Huge catropolis.
So yeah, check us out on social media. We're at ReconCinemation Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, that other site as well that people use sometimes. It's kind of famous. But you can check out our archives at ReconCinemation.com. Don't forget to give us a rating and a review. It always helps boost the show. And don't forget to check out some of our friends, and thank you to them. J. Blake Fischera, check out Scored to Death, the podcast and the books, which you can get off Amazon. E.K. Wimmer, thank you for the theme music, and check out his podcast, Laser Graves. And thanks to our friend Curtis for the poster, as usual. It's always fun to see those. So I hope you have a happy Halloween. It's coming up in just a few days, so don't go too crazy. Be nice to all the trick-or-treaters out there. Brent. That's directed at you.
I refuse.
I've got my hot soup ready.
Hot soup. Yeah.
Hot soup. To the face.
To the face for all the pranksters out there.
Just toss it.
Trick or treat.
You have a ladle and you just splash it at their faces. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense.
I'll make them regret throwing TP on my bushes and trees.
Old man Munchak. He's at it again.
Egg in my door. Throw eggs in my door.
Oh God! All right. Well, you have a happy and safe Halloween, and we'll see you guys next time on ReconCinemation.
Take care.
Bye now.